So hello everyone, I'm Adam Al-Sawad from Kuopio. I'm joining you from my studio here in Kuopio, and today we're going to talk about emotional labor in the game industry. So just a little bit about myself. I've been in the industry for around a decade now. I've mostly been in a position of a composer or audio engineer, but also I am now a CFO at a game company. Aside from that, um, since there was already a good intro about me in the lecture info, I'm not gonna uh, spend more time on that. So let's get right into the meat of business. And I have my chat open here on a separate screen. So if you guys have any questions, just feel free to ask away. So, when art becomes the self, emotions and communication in a professional setting. Today's topic, we're going to talk about distancing ourselves from our own art, uh, communicating about our art and our product, and getting a mental grip on our creativity. What this means and what this includes is why learn these skills at all? Uh, how do they relate to well-being? How do they relate to production? And some practical examples as well. As you can see, I like to put a lot of memes in my presentations to help people remember stuff. So, me and my art, our identity and its relation to what we do. So the cliche is that, all of us are these bohemians, emotional people who aren't working, but we're pouring our heart out into our work. And we're creating from ourselves. We're wallowing in this sort of creative suffering to get inspiration, and what we do is kind of a part of us. One could say, like, our child, so to speak. And that means that for a lot of us, in the beginning, any feedback we get is also, or is felt as though it would be an attack on our person. And to be fair, there is an ounce of truth to this, at least in the beginning. But the problem is that this romanticism does not fit in with what the creative industries are in practice. I've worked in games. I've done some stuff in film, music, theater, music, for example, and this work contains strict timetables, swaths of overarching teamwork, whether we want it or not, usually, and it's continuous iteration, feedback, cycles, critique, discarding our work, and these choices are often made based on commercial decisions and from the outside. So this creates unease when work is the polar opposite of free artistry. It's strict. The pressure of the product feedback is continuous, and your output is continuously followed with a critical eye. I really like this piece of art. I don't remember who made it, but to me it tells a story of a person not really feeling at home or feeling as themselves around people through all this pressure. And in this world of corporate art, there are also a lot of memes that encapsulate this. This I'm an artist in a corporate world. So let's go through some concrete examples of this, the conflict between our emotions and the real needs of production. So emotionally, we might be thinking, oh, I need to be inspired, I need to wait to be inspired, but the reality then demands that we should be inspired all the time to be able to work efficiently. Our heart might say that our creative output is a part of us, but then the situation is that our creative output is continuously being critiqued. And so it feels to us like we are being critiqued as people. We might want or feel like we are or need to be in control of our own creative output, but then working as professionals, somebody else decides what and how we are supposed to create. So what to do? Let's create some systems to tame this creative chaos. So when I was studying to be a composer, I think my most important lessons were those where we went through how to produce creative material professionally. And this... Oh no, the slides are bugging out, sorry. So what this means is that finding that systematic control of our creative output and the productization of what we create. So basically what this means is, as one of my teachers put it, becoming lords of our own inspiration. And this is when we get really into the meat of emotional labor in our work. So to define first what we're talking about, what is inspiration to us? It's, I would say, the excitement and motivation to create, and, you know, a richness of thought while creating something. We talk about passion, fervor, flow. Some people in Finland talk about pöhinä, for example. And these are all emotions that feed into being excited about doing the things we do, creating the products and parts of the products that we do. And it's important because while inspired, we're at our best and at our most efficient state. We're motivated to work. We're motivated to actually create something well. A person who is inspired better achieves their creative goals. So this means that a lack of inspiration is often called a creative block. People talk about their creative flow escaping and how working can feel slow and impossible, suffocating. You feel like as though you can't produce or achieve. And I think we shouldn't romanticize suffering. What I learned from my teachers is I need that the creative block is a myth that is dangerously romanticized. The thought that, you know, creative work should contain this lingering anguish is normalizing discarding your emotional well-being for our work. It's part of the job for some people, even though it shouldn't be. What job should make you ill? So, a while ago, my friend Natasha Skult said that the show must go on, and in relation to this topic, I answered when I was having this lecture in Turku that yes, exactly, the show must go on, and emotional labor in this show, so to speak, is making sure that we are doing well. Our mental health and our well-being and our professional output is good and well while the show is going on. And the concept of a creative block is the enemy of deadlines, or the enemy of having the show go on. Deadlines run and creative output is expected from you. So I was taught to compose in the sunshine or in a storm. And I was taught to be, create my own inspiration. This brings us to the core. Our aim is to control and shape our emotional landscape to support our ability to work and to support our product. So, in essence, this means our main goals are the well-being of both ourselves and our team, and to be able to work so that we can strive to achieve the best results we can, as we are creating products that require these strict results, at least in some time frame. So, inspiration as a tool. Think about it. How can you create your own inspiration while in a worse state of mind? I'll summarize my thoughts. First and foremost, learn to work the best you can without it. I'm going to come back to this again later, but one of my composer teachers, Adam Vilagi, he once, or actually a few times, made me compose piece after piece after piece. Just compose something, get rid of it. Compose something, get rid of it. And what he wanted me to, process here was, even though I didn't feel like making anything, even though I just had to on the clock make this and that and this and that, I got to build the routines for myself through these different exercises to be able to create without, this burning inspiration we all romanticize. And this means also that we should start examining what inspires us. Integrate that into our work routines. So many people avoid things that also disrupt their mental cheer, but also, of course, this always is not possible. And in those situations, it's important, especially, that our mental work routine is strong enough so that the outside world doesn't disrupt you, and all of a sudden you're losing your grip on your professional output. So, for example, I myself, I did a lot of experiments with different types of movies, different types of music, different types of games, different types of creative exercises, and I started to catalog what worked best for me, what best put me in the mood for creating something. And what I do myself is usually before work. I can take 10 or 15 minutes. Might take a short walk. Then I might look into some relevant product to the game I'm working on at the moment. Listen to its soundtrack. Watch trailers or gameplay videos. Get my creative juices flowing. Take some time to really sit down with what I need to start working with. Another example, as I put in this meme here, is going to your cabin. I was in Ari Pulkki's lecture years and years and years ago, and what he said, and this really stuck with me, is that if he really, really, really needs to get something done very efficiently, he goes to his cabin, because that way he can control all of the input and all of the output, mostly. So, next, we give a product, not ourselves. And this goes into separating ourselves and our ego, our emotional landscape, from the product we're working on. So we as workers in these creative industries, we sell our vision, we sell our skill, our artisanship, and all of us know that even the most boring stuff can really take hours of work and emotions and thoughts. I've made, for example, I'm not going to name any names, but really boring commercial music for random like web commercials and things like that. Of course, those are boring products, but even then, we as creative people need to feed from ourselves, so to speak, to create high quality artistry. And as I said in the beginning, to a lot of us, it might feel, if we are criticized for it, it might feel really bad. It might feel like we are being criticized, not our art, but ourselves. We might feel shame. We might feel like we've failed. We might feel insufficient, angry, disgusted at ourselves, or maybe the people who are critiquing us. We might start getting an imposter syndrome. We might get frustrated. And this is not good. Which work requires constant anxiousness. It's not good for anyone. It's not productive, and it's not healthy. And the same way, for example, that in other lines of work, in other industries, people and professionals have these various types of mental ways of not only coping, but strengthening themselves and distancing themselves from work. We should also do that. So, what to do? I think there are 3 central techniques to solve this. Ideally, you should learn to master all of them, but of course, we're all individuals. Some things are harder, but some things are easier. Depends on the person. But at least to me, if you master these, you will really increase your well-being and your mastery in your craft, I would say. So, first one, as I said, separate your ego and work by being product-oriented. Going to that later. Learning to react to feedback without your gut reaction, meaning, also going into this later, but developing techniques on how to react or give feedback, and making healthy self-critique into a work routine itself. As I said, it's challenging, but in the end, we're the ones who can change things. Like a psychologist needs to unwind, distance themselves from their work to be able to be as good professionals as possible. So do we. So, first off, separating our ego through being product-oriented. So what do I mean by product-oriented? It means centering our thought on the product we're creating. It means being acutely aware that we're making a media product for our customers to experience. Artistic perfection or our own virtuosity is secondary. We're not going up to a stage and playing the violin to the biggest audience in the world. We're making a finished product that should be a good experience for the people who play the game. And we are not evaluated singularly on that product, but that product is being evaluated as an experience in essence. We're professionals creating something, and this is something I really want to drive home, that we are using our expertise to evaluate whether things fit into the product. So we are not only creating something, but we are also selling, our eyes and our ears and our minds to take responsibility of what we feed into that product. And it makes sense that we want to be as cool and as calm as possible. Not, we shouldn't center around how it will reflect on us. That's in the end, that's not relevant to the person buying the game. And we should not think that the game represents us in some profound way. Even if we're working on a solo project, in the end, the people buying our game, mostly at least, except for maybe art critiques, will evaluate the experience, the game itself, the entirety. And as I said, through thinking how to make the product a good experience, not you, I mean, you can't always be a grand virtuoso, but what you can do is provide the mind and skill of a professional. And centering on those thoughts, creating in a way that we always mirror it to the product and not to ourselves puts us more easily in a situation where we can actually efficiently start evaluating our output and iteration based on what the game actually needs and not how we might be perceived as the creators of, said art piece or music or feature or design or so on. Next, learning feedback without our gut reaction. This means we consciously avoid snapping from feedback. This is something a lot of newer people in the industry especially do. It's the first time you get really, really, really bad feedback. Oh no, don't continue with this prototype. Oh no, we need to switch our art style, and our soundtrack is terrible, and let's do everything again. And oh, why are you doing this? And oh, the chair looks bad and the hands look too yaoi, and oh no, we can't snap. We can't, get too emotional. We need to take a moment to process the feedback. Why? So that we ourselves can get something thought out of it, and in return we can either give feedback or answer into the discussion of feedback in a thought out productive way. So what I find is deconstructing feedback into smaller elements or possible cause and effect relations helps a lot. You get feedback of, well, the game feels like this and that and the other. Start deconstructing that statement. Start thinking about what, for example, the tester has been experiencing in that gameplay segment. Start deconstructing how this part feels and that part feels. Can this piece of your design be making it feel dull, or is your music too intense in a way that actually is not communicated, but might be the actually cause and effect of that feedback? And start having that conversation and that dialogue through those smaller elements to be able to deconstruct and understand what is actually being said, what you want to say, and what you can actually get out of that feedback as professionals. This applies to giving feedback. Not going to go into those very quickly, but so this might also mean that we might overthink our own feedback. We might give impulsive feedback. We might underthink it. So underthinking it would mean not we might get overwhelmed worrying about our product. You know, what was the last part you heard? Oh, oh, 5 seconds. Yeah. So I guess only this page, not the previous page. Okay. Okay. So you might also underthink your feedback, while you're giving this blurb of feedback, which means that you're not separating it into logical components. You're not taking the time to actually construct your feedback in a way that is as efficient and understandable as possible. You might get overwhelmed worrying about your product. you know, uh, oh no, we've been making this for a year now, and next month our budget is going to be really tight, and what do we do? And uh, we should change everything. The same applies there. Take the time to, walk past that gut reaction. Maybe not understanding or overthinking a prototype we're looking at, giving unproductive feedback, something that we really don't mean or we don't understand, setting someone over or under yourself because of shame or ego, getting feedback that's good, but you feel so attacked in your gut reaction that you might start degrading the person giving the feedback to you. All of this stems into the same techniques. Taking the time, thinking to yourself to avoid these snapping gut reactions, processing, thought out is good. Then lastly, a healthy self-critique routine. I talked about this before. Redoing and abandoning our creative output until we don't feel anything about it. It's part of the job. Lowering our iteration barrier, making it part of your workflow. I told you the story before of my teacher just making me do and discard and do and discard, and one of his intentions was making that process itself a part of my workflow. In a sense, this is breaking that romanticized version of a creative person the most. That person who is so inspired, and now they do this great thing, and that's the greatest thing ever, and it makes the product so good. Usually it's not like that. Every single professional will say that iteration is so common, and how we actually process that is very important, since it is such a big part of what we actually do. And actually learning that into your spine, into your workflow, that things will be all right, it is part of the job to discard what we do, is a very important step into actually being able to iterate our work, not only efficiently, but also being able to look at our own work more professionally, more analytically, so that we can refine it as professionals, selling our professional skills, artistry, artisanship, mind in a better way. That's it. The faster you embrace that, the easier it will be. I wholeheartedly believe that. Thank you